Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. I'm going to show you some very important things you probably never saw before. All right. So let's get into this lesson. So, one thing you have to understand that is always much to learn, you know, and that's why we do these lessons. So, let's get straight into this lesson. So, I'm going to prove to you that Yahweh Shah, two brothers that was in the middle. First off, let me say this: the book of James that you know of in the Bible, that was Yahweh Shah brother, but his name was not James. I'm gonna show you what his name means. Matter of fact, let's do that first. In the book of Jude, that was Yahweh Shah brother as well. So I'm gonna go to James first. Let me show you something. That was his brother. All right, blood brother, James and Jude, as we know, but that wasn't their true names. Right here, it says the name Acobs. I'm right here towards where it's highlighted at. Let me scroll up for you. Okay. James in 1 and 1 is the basis for the earlier title, Yacob. Epistle of James, Jacobos. It is the Greek form of Hebrew name Jacob. So James' real name was Jacob, right? A Jewish name, which there's no such thing as Jewish. A Hebrew Israelite name. It says name coming in the first century. So the book of James was Yahweh Shah biological brother. And the book of Jude, let me go here next. The book of Jude goes back into Judah, Yahweh in the Hebrew tongue. So Jude was not his name. His name was Yahweh. So when the Messiah, and I'm gonna prove everything that I'm telling you. So the Messiah, that's impossible that the Messiah name was Jesus because the letter J was not even used. It wasn't even invented at the time of Yahweh Shah. The letter J came later on down the line in a modern world in 1524. The letter J sound. That's why right here, he says what it says, that the second paragraph, it says the Greek, that's why there's no J right here. I do you. It says of Jude comes from the name Arios, which appears in verse 1. This name, which can be translated Jude or Judas, was popular in the first century because of Judas Maccabees. And like I said, when you get into this English language, it's a snare. But his true name was Jehoiada. That was Jude's real name. He didn't use the name Jude. The name Jude did not exist in Yahweh Shah time. The name James did not exist in the Yahweh Shah time. You know? So let's go here. Let me show more to you. And this is out of my 1611 King James Bible. And it's the book of James. But if you scroll up, it says the general at the very top. It says, it's supposed to say the epistle of James, but there's no J there. It's an I. Because again, the letter J in the pronunciation of the letter J, the sound of it is a new concept. So let's go here. And I'm just cutting that name Jesus. So that's impossible that that the Messiah name was Jesus. And if you still saying that name, you got a real demon on you, man. You know what I'm saying? Or you slow or something. So this would be a true, more accurate depiction of how the Israelites looked in Yahweh Shah time. So let's go here. Let's do one thing at a time. So we're going to the book of Jude. I'm gonna prove something to you. So we know Jude is a translation into English, and I bet you didn't know that. You didn't know that Jude and James was Yahweh Shah bloodline brother. It says right here, Jude 1 and 1. It says Jude. I'm gonna go to this name Jude. I'm gonna show you something. Right, Jude. You see, it's no I there, going back into the Greek, because the letter J was created in 1524. Check this out. I bet you didn't know this. At the top, it says Judah. Why is this? Why is this so? Because Judah, the name Jude, actually means Judah, which when you go back into the Hebrew tongue, the Jew real name was Yahawada at Yahawashah at the time of Yahawashah. So you'll notice the letter J was not invented. So his name was Yahawada. That's how you say Judah name in the ancient Hebrew tongue. And they go to show you that Jude was a Hebrew Israelite. He had a Hebrew name. Simple as that. So right here, when you go, let me go back so you can see it, so you won't say I'm making anything up. This Jude 1:1, right here, Jude 1:1. When I go to the name Jude, right here, it says root word etymology of Hebrew origin to the top of the screen to the right, where I'm at scrolling at, and what it goes back to. Let's click on it. Goes back to Judah, because Jude real name was Yahawada. He didn't go by the name Jude at this time. He didn't go by the name Jude. He went by the name Yahawada. That was his real name. So when you go back, let's go to the name James. And this was Yahawashah, two bloodline brothers. 1 second, Salakia. Okay, so this is the book of James. So the book of James, this is Yahawashah bloodline brother, like the book of Jude. James, which his true name, was Yaquab. I'm going to show you. So James 1:1, right? So when you go to the name James, I'm just clicking on them. The name James. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove everything that I'm saying. Right here. It says, Salakia, James Supplanter. And that's the name of Jacob. So I'm going to show you, though. When you go to the root of the etymology, you go to G2384. Okay. Right here. It says Jacob. Heel, catcher, or supplanter. Jacob. So when you go to Jacob right here, and it says Hebrew origin right here. His name is Yaquab. Right here, Jacob. Same thing. So James' real name was Yaquab. And that's why there's so much confusion in this English language. That the Ecclesiasticus prologue. So let's go more into this. So let's go to Matthew. I think it's 13:55. This is the book of Matthew 13:55. Is not this the carpenter's son? And that proves that's a cut to the Immaculate Conception. I've been doing some study on that, and it's a lot to unpack and put into a lesson. I'm gonna have to do multiple lessons. There's always lessons to do. It's not this the carpenter's son. So this is talking about Yahushua, proving that Joseph, Yahweh is his true name. Joseph, that name didn't exist. Yahweh was Joseph's real name. Is not this the carpenter's son? So proving Yahushua is the son of, as you know, is Joseph, Yahweh. It wasn't no goddamn Immaculate Conception. Is not his mother called Mary? And his brethren, James and Joas, and Simeon and Judas. So I think both of these are the same. Salakia. We'll deal with that a whole nother day, but I just want you to focus on James and Judas being Jude, right? Matter of fact, let's go to it in the blue letter. Give me 1 second. All right, so Matthew 13:55. Let me go get down to it. And a lot of our people are just really slow. They just don't comprehend too good. So that's why a lot of times I'm repetitive, right? And plus, you've been brainwashed, so you have to keep repeating the same thing over and over. So when you go to this name James, it's gonna go right back to Yaquab. Right here, it says, right here. James, the half brother of Hamashiach, or the Messiah. He wasn't his half brother because with this, like I say, this lesson can go into another lesson. I don't want to do that because I'm sticking on subject. It says James, the half brother of Yahushua. He wasn't his half brother because they trying to say Mary didn't never have sex with Joseph, right? So they pushing that lie, but that was his full brother. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go to Judas, right here. Yahawada goes back to the name Judah. So this was his two blood brothers right here, the half brother of Yahweh, but it wasn't his half brother. See, they pushed that half brother so they can push that Immaculate Conception doctrine. I've been doing a lot of study on that, Jake. So don't get tripped up by this. Trust us what we say, that he was his full brother. But that's a whole, like I said, that's a whole nother lesson that I do not want to get into because it's just gonna muffle the lesson. I want you to focus on what I'm saying. So what does this prove? This proves that the letter J was not invented. It proves that James, as you know as James and as you know as Jude, with Hebrew Israelites, they had Hebrew names. James' true name was Yaquab, and Jude's real name was Yahawada. They had Hebrew names because their names go back to Hebrew origin. And that's something they're not going to never tell you. And I showed you proof. So they're going to show you that Hebrew was still spoken at this time. The Messiah name wasn't Jesus. His name was Yahweh. And I did a lesson in my previous lesson going back and backtracking the Messiah name. The names that you have right now, it's almost like a demon. These names are demonic because these names go back into the English. They're not Hebrew. They go back into Latin. A lot of words go back into Latin, which is a demonic tongue. That's why you got to go back into the Hebrew. And this adds to the more confusion on a lot of our people. They don't know this. They don't know trivial stuff about the Bible. They don't even know that we didn't speak English. They don't know this. They think the Bible format that it was written in today, they think that's the language that they were speaking at that time. English is a new concept. We spoke Hebrew. Even this, and when Yahweh Shah was around, even though Judea, the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom, however you want to say it, was under Roman occupation, we still withheld our language and our customs, you know? And that's something you have to understand. That's a very, very important thing. That'll clear that Jesus demon up on you. Because a lot of our people got that demonic spirit on them to keep saying the name Jesus. Matter of fact, let me get one more precept. Acts 4:12. Salvation is found in none one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. That's clear as day. So we got to have the correct names going back into the Hebrew. Not you demons that say the name has been. No, we ain't trying to hear all that. He got one name like you got one name. The Messiah, you got one name like you got one name. Don't play with the Most High, man. All right? Because a lot of you Christians got all these excuses. Christians they just an excuse. So many excuses among these Christians. All right, hopefully this lesson has been edifying. Call Hallah Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shah by Hashem, Rachak Kodash. Shalom.